Native American Voices with Louie Cook and Ray Fadden is brought to you by the Akwesasne Gahwajile Genealogy and Historical Society with funding provided by Onaway and Plenty International. We invite you to listen to the complete series online at www.gahwajile.org. Nyawa Jizawadahusade.
Seego, Skanagoako. Greetings, we hope that things are well with you. I'm Louie Cook. Welcome to this program about the native peoples of the Americas. Mohawk elder Dianatolo, Ray Fadden, is the founder and director of the Six Nations Museum in Onaway, New York. He and his wife Christine have operated the museum since Ray retired from a career of teaching in the public schools. At the museum, he lectures on the culture, history, and philosophy of the native peoples. You are invited to stay with us to hear Ray Fadden on Native American Voices.
First of all, young people, I would like to explain something to you before I read the speeded bell. Most people think that all Indians wear that big feathered headdress you see over there. And why do they think that? Well, they see it all the time. TV, movies, comic books, even some of your children's school books. The funny thing is, none of our Eastern Indians in the old days, none of them ever wore those big feathered headdresses. They're just as foreign to our Eastern Indians as they are to white people. Way out west, yes, on the Great Plains, 2,000 miles away, those Indians who lived out there, in the old days, if they won enough feathers, and they had to win them by deeds of bravery and courage, they could make it into a headdress like that, or tie the eagle feather on their horse's tail, or hang it up in their teepee. But they were not allowed to wear them unless they had the right to wear them. Any more scout would wear a mirror. And no matter what those Indian stories say on TV, chief with a big headdress, it has nothing to do with chieftainship. It doesn't mean he's a chief any more than a Boy Scout with a sash of merit badges means he's a Scout Master. It simply means he won the feathers, he could wear them. And during ceremonial times, which was the only time they ever wore them in the first place, you could tell by looking at a man's headdress what his record was. There were ways of marking the ends of the feathers to tell how he won them. Today, of course, many Indians and Boy Scouts, whether they're from north, south, east, or west, quite often when they put on an Indian program, they'll wear that. I think the only reason why they wear it is because everybody expects it of them. The Iroquois Indians who lived in New York State, they had an entirely different kind of a hat. Now, if you go to school in New York State, in the beginning of what they call social studies, in the beginning of 7th grade social studies, you learn a little bit about the Indians of whatever state you happen to live in. And in the case of New York State, you would learn about the Iroquois, and you would learn that the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca, Tuscarora are the Iroquois. Now I'll tell you how you can tell them apart by their hats. All had on top of their hats, going in different directions, peeled feathers. You take the end of the feather, give it a little tear. If you're very careful, you can peel it. Makes no difference what kind of a bird. Could be a hawk, an owl, blue heron, turkey, eagle, or whatever. But on the very top, fixed in such a way so that when the wind blows, the feather turns a little bit. The Mohawks always had 3 upright eagle feathers. The Oneidas also wore 3, 2 upright, 1 hangs down in the back. Onondagas, 1 straight up, 1 hangs down. Senecas wore only 1. Cayugas wore only 1, but with more split feathers in the back. Tuscaroras wore the split feathers, but on top they wear the feather of the hawk, or a bird called the blue heron. Those are the hats of the Iroquois, right on that rafter up there. You can tell by the number of eagle or hawk feathers, the way they set, which particular state of the Iroquois they belong to. Now I have to explain that first, so you'll understand this first symbol. This then means this is an Iroquois hat. And why do we know that? Because of the gustoa, the Iroquois hat the first figure has on. This is the kind of story they told their children, their boys and girls. And by the way, young people, this is not a wampum belt. Everybody thinks every piece of beadwork, even a beaded wristband, is wampum. Wampum is an entirely different kind of a bead, entirely different kind of a belt. Wampum belts are like those big white ones there, symbolic in meaning. Wampum is made from what they call quahog shell that grows in Long Island Sound. And before that, they made wampum out of the quills of certain kind of birds, certain hollow reeds. Then later, they used the shell. Wampum bells, as I say, are maybe something to make a belt to remember by. Maybe they'll make a belt or string to remember by. This here is what you call those symbols you see on pictures. All they are is story. They're just reminders. You're writing. You want to remember people that in a way, the European, in a way, he has taken an awful lot of credit. It doesn't really belong to him. If you've ever lived on a reservation, sometimes quite often in your life, an outsider, usually in a negativistic way, throw this in your face. They'll say, you Indians didn't know how to read and write until we white people taught you. Taught you a little bit. Because who did have a very elaborate, and they turned out thousands of books. And to live here, they lived in Central. Point is, they were Indians. The ignorant missionaries, without even what the books contained, labeled them all, ordered them all gathered up and destroyed. And those who saw what happened on that sad day, say those took over one whole week to, and Lord knows what they lost. I went up and smoked. It might interest you to know this also, that there's archaeological evidence that those people knew the world was round before Christopher Columbus's grandfather was born. They knew that it revolved on its axis, that it was a part of the planetary system with the sun at the center, that the entire thing was a part of the stellar system. They could predict not only solar eclipses, but lunar eclipses. That's a wonderful achievement. They invented zero 1,000 years before it was independently invented by the Arabs and the Hindus. They knew every bit of modern mathematics we know today, including calculus. Their calendar was more accurate than the Julian calendar, which all of Europe was using at the time of Columbus. There's even evidence they knew about penicillin. So you can imagine what was lost when they burned all their literature. And that same kind of people did the same thing across the ocean in the ancient libraries of Alexandria. Centuries of learning all went up in smoke. Also, young people, remember this, that the European didn't invent reading, nor did he invent writing, nor did he invent arithmetic. Those three very important and very necessary things, reading and writing and arithmetic, were not invented by Europeans. They were invented by a dark-skinned people who lived thousands of miles to the south of on the border of Africa and Asia. Right near, not too far away where they had all that trouble with those hostages, where those two rivers come together. In those ancient days, they were great trading people. And in the kind of work they did in their world, with their ships, traveling around, trading with other nations, keeping track of things, it came to them natural. From there it moved north to Rome and Greece, and then on into Europe. And before white men in Europe learned how to read and write from a dark-skinned people, they wrote the same way Indians did, picture writing. Most people wrote this way sometime in their history. Now we'll read this beaded bell. Now, unfortunately, that acid rain isn't just harming fish. It's affecting every living thing there is, including the plants. And I, who live right here, see what it's doing. And it scares me. I worry about my grandchildren because of what they're doing to this earth. You want to remember that when they just mentioned birds catch fish, but when the fish goes, it affects everything. When the fish goes, there's nothing for the mink to eat, there's nothing for the otter, there's nothing for the blue heron, there's nothing for the loon, there's nothing for the fishhawk, there's nothing for the kingfisher, there's nothing for many other creatures that have a right to live on this earth. And that goes right on up the line and affects everything. I'm living here where I can see what's happening. I've noticed that the trees aren't producing very many cones anymore, and those that the cones that are produced are shrunken. Do you realize that millions of animals and birds depend upon those seeds from the cone, evergreen trees, and also deciduous trees to live through the winter? What's going to happen when they all die? What's going to happen when they produce no more? It even affects the bears. They're being crowded out of their territories. More and more camps, more and more houses, more and more cements begin to cover the Adirondacks. Where are the animals and birds supposed to go? The bears are starving. They come to my back door. I feed them. I have to take care of them. I feel sorry for them. They're going through what the Indian went through. Last year I knew 19 bears by sight, counting the cubs. Although you couldn't tell them apart, they all looked alike, but around 19. This year, about half that number. Our animals and birds are dying out. Now at night I go out and sometimes I hear a soft call like this, very soft. That's a bear. Let me know he's there. He's there, and that's his friendship call. It makes that noise. When I hear that at night, I answer him. When he hears me make that sound, he comes out of the woods where I can see him. Now this may sound strange, but bears have a greeting. They bow to you. They bow to you. They bow to you. And when the bear does that, I bow back. I bow back. I bow back. Then he knows we're friends. He comes up. And I get scraps, anything I can scrounge out to feed them. Scrap bread, suet, bones from the meat market. They don't give it to me. I have to buy it. But I'm not going to let my friends starve to death if I can help it. They have a right to live too. They feel pain the same as we do. The mother bear fights to the death for her little ones. Same as your mother fight for you. That bear has a spirit the same as I have. The Creator didn't just make this earth for human beings. It's made for all creatures. We're all part of a web. We're all related. He has a spirit, same as I have. So we had diesel cares for him too. Now sometimes in the woods, if any of you happen to be in the woods and you hear this noise like this, turn and go the other way. That's the mother bear warning her cubs that you are around. And as far as that mother bear is concerned, human being is the most dangerous animal in the world. And mother bear is right. He is the most dangerous animal in the world. He kills his own kind, makes a business out of them. Bear doesn't do that. Some people say, oh, aren't you afraid of the bears around here? Let me give you a little enlightenment. You're safer here with 100 bears than you are in any of your city streets. You're safer here. A bear is not a ferocious animal. He's hungry. He tries to get food. He may tip over your garbage can, but he doesn't go after you. Not this kind of a bear around here. So when you hear that noise, just go the other way, because that mother bear is going to defend her children. Now sometimes when an enemy comes around them, the cubs run up the tree. They can go up and down that tree just as fast as they can run on the ground. They're good at it. What happens, the mother bear knows there's danger, because those little fellas got better eyesight than she has. And she looks around. And then sometimes she makes noise like this when she wants those cubs to come down. One time I look out and back, I saw a little cub that was separated from its mother. Sound asleep up on a branch, draped over the branch, just like a rug almost. A little head on one side, little hindquarters on the other side. So I thought I'd play a trick. First of all, I look around, make sure the mother bear's not around. I didn't see her anywhere, so I hid behind a bush, and that little bear opened his eyes, and down that tree he came like an arrow, through the bushes right over, and when he took one look at me, he went right up the tree again. What an ugly-looking mother. I fooled him, though. Now, sometimes I look out, I see a bear eating where I put food. All of a sudden, his fur sticks up, and he grabs that suet that he's eating, and he makes noise like... That's a warning cry. Another bear is coming around, and that other bear wants some of that food, too. And that bear that's on the food is warning the other bear to keep away. And the other bear makes the same kind of a noise. Like a... Usually the largest bear wins. But sometimes that large bear gets fooled. One time I look back and I see a great big bear. He must have weighed 500 pounds if he weighed an ounce. He's busy eating suet and scraps. All of a sudden from the bushes I hear that noise. And that big ears laid back, his tail between his legs took up like an arrow. And who do you suppose came out of the woods? A little cub. He fooled the big bear. Now sometimes in the woods you hear a noise like this. It's like a beehive. Sounds exactly like a beehive. That's a bear warning another bear, telling another bear he's around, he better get out. Those are sounds. Bears also make other sounds, but I can't do it.
You've been listening to Native American Voices, which is produced in the studios of North Country Public Radio, WSLU FM, at the St. Lawrence University in Canton, New York. Our series of talks and stories from the Six Nations Museum was produced with a grant from the New York Council for the Humanities. Recordings were done at the Six Nations Museum in Onaway, New York by WSLU engineer Joshua Sacco. The song Color Nature Gone was written and performed by the American Indian rock group Exit and appears on their album Silent Warrior. The associate producer of this series is Peggy Berryhill. I'm Louie Cook, your host and producer, inviting you to join us again next time. Until then, I say, Scunno, peace.
Let their voices ring out. Let my people dance. Let my people sing. Let their voices ring. Let my people dance. Let my people sing. Let their voices ring. Let my people dance.
Native American Voices with Louie Cook and Ray Fadden is brought to you by the Akwesasne Genealogy and Historical Society with funding provided by Onaway and Plenty International. We invite you to listen to the complete series online at www.gahwajile.org. Nyawa jizawadahusade.